Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland Reviewer, and welcome to Lost in the Wasteland, my weekly interview show where we get a deeper perspective on somebody else's perspective on movies. And this week, I have my friend Vinnie. We've been friends for 12 years. We've met.
Yes.
Oh my God. Look at that. And we met in film club, so obviously movies mean a lot to us. Vinnie, thank you for coming back onto the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
This is round 3. And we get to at least chat movies once a month with our movie club. But this time it's all about Vinnie's perspective on movies. And this is his third round here. So he gets to experience these third round questions before we shake things up the next time you're on the show. But we'll get to that. But before we get into it, would you like to shamelessly plug anything before we get started?
Sure. I have a film review blog called cinemaconversations.blogspot.com. If you go on my Twitter page, I'm at Vincent Abbatecola. You can find the link to my blog in my in the About Me section. So,
and there will be a link in the description of this video. So there you go, easy access. But Vinnie, as we get started, some of these I'm really looking forward to chatting with people about. I had some fun with some of these third round questions. This also was the one that took me the longest time to actually write out 10 questions. But so if you had a whole day open, what would be the theme of your movie marathon?
My theme would probably be probably stage play to film adaptations, because but like I've always loved to read. It used to be mainly novels, but now I'm trying to like branch out. So like one of the things I'm branching out to is reading more plays. So I've read Dow, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I've reread Death of a Salesman. I just finished a raisin in the sun last night. I read the Humans last year to prepare for that movie. So like with stage plays being adapted into movies, like there's always the risk of the movie looking too stagey. So like it's always fascinating to see how the directors make that jump from the stage to the screen. And it's also really neat what occasionally when the playwright / director of the stage show transitions to the screen adaptation, just like with the Humans last year, and with John Patrick Shanley when he adapted Doubt back in 2008. But yeah, that would be my marathon.
That's an interesting one. And like you could legitimately just do that all just Shakespeare.
Yes.
Because I appreciate you bringing up the direction, because like you could go the Joel Cohen route and like make it some strange in between feeling of a movie in a stage with like Tragedy of Macbeth. Yep. I know probably one of the biggest criticisms I saw of Fences was that it felt like really contained. And that's the thing, most of that movie takes place in a backyard, so it's kind of like
yeah you can't help it. Well, I mean, it's been, I haven't seen it since I saw it in theaters like 5 or 6 years ago, but I mean there were a couple scenes in that movie that did take place like away from their house. So
all I gotta say is Denzel still deserved that Oscar.
You know what there were a lot of pretty much every nominee that year for Best Actor was great, but yeah, Denzel Washington, he edged everyone out just a little bit, so I had to he was my personal favorite.
He thought so too, because you could see his face when Casey Affleck got called up to the stage. Now, if you had a friend who, for some reason, had never seen a movie before, what's that first movie that you're going to show them?
I know this may sound like a cliched answer, but probably Star Wars. Pretty much because that movie, it really changed the blockbuster landscape, and it revolutionized, like, special effects, and like
Mhm.
like what could be done. It pretty much redefined what could be done with making a movie. So like, between the visual effects, the like the world building, the
Mhm.
characters, the score. I mean, everything is just so iconic about that movie. So, and oh, and just, like I know I probably don't have to specify, but when I say Star Wars, I mean like 1977 Star Wars, like
Yeah.
the first
Before
Star
they
Wars.
started throwing subtitles on them.
Yes,
um,
but yeah,
which
that's my answer.
it's very interesting because I feel like I'm getting either one or two kinds of answers. It's either like this is such a classic film of cinema that is just like you need to show them this like archive of like filmmaking, or it's like the kind of movie that makes you fall in love with movies. And I feel like that's the kind of thing that Star Wars does. Like for a lot of people when they're younger, it's just like those are the kinds of movies. You're like, I know. Um, Before my collection was what it is now, it used to just be a bunch of box sets of like Indiana Jones and
Mhm.
Star Wars and Rocky. And that's what those are some of the first ones that I had. And like those are the kinds of things that you kind of fall in love with. And Star Wars is a great choice. Now, if you could pick one film to get a sequel, because we all love movies getting sequels, but if one movie could get a sequel and you think it deserves it, what would that movie be?
You know what? This is funny because you and I were talking about this movie before we started recording. Ex Machina.
I want to see what happens when she gets away.
Because the reason being, because with Ava's character, and Ex Machina, it came out 6 years ago, so I'm sure everyone who's wanted to see it by now has seen it. But just to be just to let spoilers coming up at the end. So at the end of Ex Machina, with Ava, it's funny because you're really not sure how to feel about her, because she kills Oscar Isaac's character, which is understandable because he he pretty much wanted to keep her he wanted to keep her locked up there. So her killing him, yeah, you understood her motives, but then she leaves, like she tricks Caleb, who wanted to help her, but she left him to die. But at the same time, it's like, did she do that she really is like a because she really is like a malevolent character, or does she just not trust him because of the issues she had with Oscar Isaac's character? Like, is she distrustful of all humans? So like, to see her go out in the world, you want to see, like, is she gonna be against humans, or is she gonna try to like understand them, try and like get along with them, try to assimilate into their lifestyle? So like, and like, she's like, Ava was just such a fascinating character that you really do want to see, like, you really do want to see how she holds herself, like, out in the real world, now that she's broken away from this house that she's been kept in.
And that's a really interesting pick, and I've definitely thought about that. And two things real quick. One, especially after getting a chance to screen Men last night, I feel like thinking back and looking at Ex Machina, you kind of see it through a different lens with, is it necessarily her not trusting humans or not trusting men? And
Ah,
that's and like because to be fair, the only two humans in the movie that she interacts with are men. But there is a lot of parallels of like abusive relationships that she has with Oscar Isaac's character. And there could also be like some undercurrents of like benevolent sexism when it comes to Caleb's character, who's like feels like he needs to save her. And it's
mhm.
kind of like, I don't think she needs your help saving.
Mhm.
And obviously, if you watch the film, you kind of get that. But that's something interesting that I was thinking about that movie a lot last night because of Men. And then two, I feel like it could be season 3 of Westworld, except better. Um,
I've only seen season 1, so I can't comment.
so basically, season 3 is Dolores gets out of the park and is like out in the real world, and where like that escalates the story of these machines and stuff like that. And I feel like that could be a very interesting, similar kind of situation with Ava's character in that. So I'd 100% be down. And if Alex Garland's down for it, do it. We want to see it. Um, Now, Vinny, what's a film from your childhood that you have not watched in years that you would want to go back and actually rewatch?
Probably Hercules, the Disney animated one, because like before Hercules, when you had Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Hunchback of Notre Dame, you had these. I'm trying to think how to explain it. Like you had these stories that had like, well, like they each had their own little worlds, but then you move on to Hercules, which deals with Greek mythology, like this,
Yeah.
just like this whole big canvas of just that, of that type of mythology. And like you just have you have so many characters to work with, and Disney, they had, obviously, besides your title character, you have Zeus, you have Hermes, you have Hades, you have Phil, you have the three-headed, I can't remember the three-headed dog,
Cerebus.
You have the fates. You have all these characters from Greek mythology, and it was just like, it was such like, it was just really interesting to see Disney tackle something with that kind of scope. And
Yeah.
it was entertaining. Like the songs from the muses were great. And it's just like, it's just such a, it's like such a colorful movie. And it's also like, in terms of like tone, it gets pretty dark, like especially the scenes in hell. And it's just, it's really, it's just like a really like great like adventure story. And yeah, like I haven't seen it since I was in elementary school. I saw it twice in theaters, actually. But I really haven't seen it since I saw it on VHS like many years ago. But I would like to revisit it.
As somebody who has watched it plenty of times as an adult, it holds up. Oh my God, between Zero to Hero and I'll Go the Distance, like Alan Menken's music's great.
Yes.
And the cast, the
voice cast is tops in that movie.
It's like some of the most inspired voice casting. Like Danny DeVito.
Oh yeah.
As Phil was perfect.
Yes.
And James Woods as Hades is just amazing. Rip Torn as Zeus seems so random, but he's so great. and
then it was Tate Donovan was Hercules.
Yeah, like it's funny because I had no idea who that was. Now I'm like, as an adult, I know who Tate Donovan is. And like he's like a big stage star too, along with doing film and stuff like that. Like I think he's more known for like being a stage actor and performer than like an actual like film actor. But like he's a pretty regular character actor, and he does such a great job as Hercules. And Meg is one of the best like Disney princesses.
Who voiced Meg? I keep forgetting.
That's a good question. I don't recall. I don't know if she's like a big name person, but just uh Susan Egan, and
She was. I think she was the original Belle in for the Broadway Beauty and the Beast.
she I think so. It looks like a lot of her film work is all like voiceover work, which makes sense. She does a lot of voiceover stuff. But there's just Jim Cummings is in it, Keith David's in it. Like there's a lot of just great voices. Bobcat Gothwaite as Payne, and Charlton Heston narrates the movie.
I forgot about that.
So there's just
a totally stacked cast.
It's and then you have Charlton Heston. That was in the point where he does the voiceover at the beginning of Armageddon, that Michael Bay movie. Just late 90s into 2000s, can we get Charlton Heston to just do some narration work? But it's such a blast. That, and then basically Tarzan kind of wrapped up the Disney Renaissance in the 90s, and then there's some times that weren't so great. But now we're great again. There we go. Disney animation. Now, if you could, so this is a fun one. If you could visit one place from a movie, where would you visit? And I do want to preface this, it doesn't have to be real.
Okay. I figured. So I would definitely want to visit the Grand Budapest Hotel from the Grand Budapest Hotel because it has first of all, exterior and interior are gorgeous, in that setting, and that movie rightfully won best production design. So I would definitely want to visit the Grand Budapest Hotel because it has such a warm, cheery, storybook feel to it that if you if you walked in there, you would be taken care of, you would be given whatever you needed to ensure that you had a great time. And of course you have all of these delightful and eccentric characters coming in and out of the place, and it just seems like that would be a great place to visit.
And if you're an older woman, you'd have an extra good time.
Yes.
I would love to be, well, and that's a funny thing because I would love to see it in its prime and get to meet Gustav H. And honestly, I would love to even come when it was in its downturn in the film, where Jason Schwartzman was the head guy. But I would love for Mr. Mustafa to give me a tour of the Grand Budapest, and specifically F. Murray Abraham, because I just want to listen to his voice as I'm going on this tour of this hotel. Because oh my God, there's A+ choices for people to narrate that movie. Between Jude Law, even Tom Wilkinson for just a tiny bit, and then F. Murray Abraham. So fantastic.
I mean, I like a lot of Wes Anderson's movies, but I think that one might be my favorite.
It's my favorite. I remember seeing it at the Princeton Garden Theater and just being in love. And that was the perfect place to see it because the Princeton Garden Theater feels like a place out of time too. It just feels like this really old school kind of movie theater. And just watching that really old school, out of time kind of hotel, it was a perfect setting. That was a special trip to the movies for me. Yeah. Now, this is always a fun one, and then we can judge people's parenting. What film did you watch too young?
All right, so this isn't because I was literally too young. This is because I was young in terms of getting familiar with types of movies that I had never seen before. Like I was like it was it was my it was all part of my cinematic awakening, if you will.
Mhm.
So this was I was 18. Just if we're talking about young and old, so I was 18, and it was the first meet. It was the not only the first meeting of Writers Film Club of the year, but my first ever meeting because I was a freshman. We watched Mulholland Drive,
I
and
also did not. I don't think I appreciated it enough the first time I
that
watched that
and
movie.
like I just remember that really being the first time that I watched a movie, and when it was over, I thought to myself, I have no idea what just happened. I have no idea what I just watched, and I need to go I need to go for a walk and think about this. No,
I
because no amount of of discussion time what at that point was gonna clear anything up for me.
I I appreciate you taking that approach to the question because most of the times it's been like, I watched this when I was 5. I definitely shouldn't have watched this when I was 5. But like taking it from like a film maturity perspective, like I know I watched Raging Bull in high school and I just hated it. I'm just like, this is just two guys yelling and hitting each other, cursing at each other for 2 hours. And like when you really strip it down to it, like, yeah, it's kind of what the movie is in a lot of ways, but like there's a different level of appreciation. And like if you're not there to be able to hit it on the level it needs to be, then you are too young for it, or you might not have reached that particular place in appreciation of film to appreciate something like that. And it's interesting because, like, I remember watching, well, the one that I actually did watch way too young was The Godfather. And for some reason, at 10 years old, I did really appreciate it. But I didn't like the second one. I thought the second one was boring. And also, I'm like, I have to read the subtitles. Why is this in Italian? And like now it's just like, yeah, different feelings. But that's the thing. Sometimes you just come to a film at a different place in your life. Now, what's a film experience that you feel like legitimately made an impact on your life?
In this case, it wasn't really the film that did it. It was the experience I had like while watching it. So Thanksgiving weekend, well, it didn't start Thanksgiving weekend, but maybe a couple weeks before. So my brother and I, we really wanted to see Foxcatcher, but that being like an indie movie and all, it felt like it was taking forever to get to my area. So my brother, he looked in the paper, this is back when theater listings were still published in the paper.
What's a newspaper?
I don't know, like something you put on the bottom of a birdcage. But so yeah, but so we couldn't find any theaters around my area that were playing it. But then that Thanksgiving weekend, my brother looked in the paper and he saw the Jacob Burns Film Center, which is an indie theater about 30-40 minutes from my house. So he said, you know what, why don't we go, we'll go that Saturday, we'll take the drive down there, we'll check out the theater and we'll see Foxcatcher. So I said, yeah, sure, yeah, let's totally do that. So we went there. It was my first time at Jacob Burns, and we saw it. It was like a packed theater when we saw it, because I think that was its first weekend playing at Jacob Burns.
Mhm.
And you definitely, like, because of like the trying to think of just like the people that go to Jacob Burns are people who really like movies. So the crowd we were with, like you could tell like they were like really into the movie.
Mhm.
Like everyone was quiet. They reacted when they were supposed to like react. Like there was no like like out of line like inappropriate reactions to anything. Like people like really were invested in the movie, and like it's I know this sounds cheesy, but like it's an energy you can really feel like in like the right theater at the right time. And after we saw it, we were like, that wasn't only just a great movie, it was just a great movie viewing experience. And it's just like we've been going back there ever since.
I can appreciate that too when you find a theater for the first time that winds up being like a staple of like your movie going experience. Like I mentioned the Princeton Garden Theater. I think the first film that I saw there was Birdman. And I just remember sitting there, the opening moments, he's just like, it smells like balls in here. And I'm just like, what is this movie? And like having that kind of experience and being able to see it there. And then I remember when I found Montgomery Cinema for the first time, which before COVID was such a big part of my movie going experience. I would
you
go
know
there at least once or twice a week.
that had like 5 or 6 screens, right?
Yeah, it has
and
six
it
screens. That's
and
the big difference. Yeah.
it was in like a little shopping center. Yeah,
Hmm.
okay, because I always drove past there like back and forth to Ryder.
Yeah. I was looking for I, Tonya screenings, and it's like Montgomery Cinema. I'm like, oh, this is 20 minutes from where I live. I'm gonna go there. And I'm like, holy crap. And then I would go legitimately when I lived in Lawrenceville like 2 times a week because they had all the indie films there, foreign
Mm.
films, all kinds of great stuff. I had just, what was the last movie I saw there? I saw Eileen, that Celine Dion like biopic. It's not technically Celine Dion, but it's basically Celine Dion. It's just a fictional version of herself. And it's one of those kinds of things where it's like when you find those theaters, that could be a big impact. And sometimes, like I remember the movies distinctly, what movies brought me
Well,
to them.
the weekend that we went to Jacob Burns for Foxcatcher, this was a few months before they built like two more theaters. So like they had 3 theaters at this point. And I remember that weekend, it was a gold mine. They had Foxcatcher, Birdman, and Whiplash.
Dang.
And then I remember a year a year later when Brooklyn and Spotlight were being rolled out, Jacob Burns got Brooklyn. It got Brooklyn and Spotlight in the same weekend. So my family and I were going down there to see Brooklyn, and we were like, oh, we don't have to. I guess we'll be fine. We can buy the tickets there. Pretty like Brooklyn and Spotlight were each on like 2 screens, and pretty much every show before 9 o'clock was sold out.
Dang. I and now I know we were talking about this before we actually started recording, was like now I have the Philly Film Society, and they have the Philly Film Center and the Bourse Theater, and they have all kinds of great indie films, art house films. Like I'm waiting for them to get Vortex, the new Gaspar Noé film starring Dario Argento, because that's not popping up in an AMC anytime soon.
Wait, so starring Dario Argento?
Yes, starring Dario
Wow.
Argento.
Has
Yeah,
has he acted before?
I don't know. Interesting choice, and I I was so frustrated because I did get offered screenings to it, but they're all during the day in New York City, and I'm like, I can't do that during the week. And but like tomorrow I'm going to be working writer graduate commencement instead of seeing Downton Abbey, A New Era. So which I'm going to enjoy how British that movie is when I do get to see it. But, other obligations first, because, this stuff isn't my primary form of employment. So, which I make zero money on this. So, there you go. But, it's exciting to find like new theaters with new opportunities and checking out new places that have different kinds of movies that you don't get to see at like an AMC or a Regal and stuff like that. Now, what's a movie you would like to see turned into a TV show?
Um, you know what, this was probably like the hardest one for me because usually I mean it's not often that I see a movie where I think, this should have been like much longer. This should have been a TV show. So I really didn't have like too many in mind. Like really like the only one that I could think of was probably, and like I know this might seem weird to say because this one movie is part of a series, but probably, so it's, I know it might seem weird to just to pick out one part of a series to be made into a TV show, but if I had to pick, probably Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, because I remember seeing the movie, and I had read the book, and like even though the movie is 2.5 hours, they really did like omit a lot, a lot from the book. I mean, and like the book, and like I know the book is long to begin with, so yeah, like you might think, oh, I mean, 2.5 hours for like a 750-page book, that's not too bad, but like they did, they left out like quite a few good things. Like I remember seeing the movie and how surprised I was how just like within the first couple of minutes the movie goes from like chapter 1 to chapter 7.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's that's pretty much my answer. And I know you could probably say that for like maybe a couple of the other Harry Potter movies that look
Order
like,
of the
or
Phoenix is one that I was thinking of.
right, but for some, and especially since like that's like the longest book, and it's like one of the shortest movies in the
Yeah.
series, but I don't know, like for me, like the Goblet of Fire, the stuff missing from that movie was, I don't know why, but for some reason the stuff missing from that movie was more noticeable for me than the stuff missing from the Order of the Phoenix.
I could legitimately see HBO at one point being like, we're going to turn Harry Potter into a series and have 7 seasons, and each season's one of the books, and they would make a gold mine.
That's what I mean. Like, not that I'm aching to see a TV series of Harry Potter, especially because of how like iconic the movies are. But I mean, if they are going to do that, I would much rather have them do that than focus on these Fantastic Beasts movies, because I mean, really, like who really was clamoring for that?
I would feel differently about them if they knew what the hell they were. Because like either you make Fantastic Beast movies, or just tell audiences the truth that you wanted to make a Dumbledore Grindelwald series, and not just like, hey, Fantastic Beasts. Just kidding. Like maybe you'll see 2 in a 2-hour and 15-minute movie. Yeah, I think that would be a really interesting idea if they wind up doing that at some point. Now, I do particularly enjoy this question. Vinny, what's your favorite movie romance?
Probably the romance between Jimmy Stewart and Grace Kelly in Rear Window.
Okay.
Because it's just like such a fun relationship to watch, because pretty much throughout the whole movie, like, yeah, like you can see like they're kind of at odds with each other, but they also have feelings for each
Mhm.
other. And then you have like an adventurous spirit, or you have like an adventurous, like daring spirit in both of them, because you have Jimmy Stewart like looking through his binoculars at like who he thinks is a murderer, and he like he's like he's like getting himself worked up. He wants to find out what's happening, and then you have Grace Kelly like bringing out her her character brings out her own like sense of daring, and she actually goes into the apartment to like see what she can see. And like it's just like it's a great detail that really like links their two characters together, and to see that play out side by side with like the love that they have for each other is it was that's just one of my favorite aspects about Rear Window.
That's a that was an outside the box one. I wasn't expecting something like that, but they are like their whole dynamic is so interesting and charming in that film.
Mhm.
And just like, Jimmy Stewart's just being a grump. And he's just like, I'm just gonna say whatever. And it's just like, I'm gonna keep trying to push her away. And she's like, nope, not getting away, not getting rid of me that easy. And it's a fun dynamic, and you hope that they have a fruitful and adventurous life together after
Mhm.
he's not like in double casts at the end of the movie. He's just gonna wind up being in cast the whole entire time. It's just like they never go anywhere. Plot twist. Now, I'm really excited about this question. I'm going to explain why this is also important after you're done answering this question. So theoretically, I get put in charge of a college here, and I need to hire you to teach a film class. So, Vinny, what's your curriculum going to be?
My curriculum is gonna be the movies of Denis Villeneuve.
Oh,
And but before I go further, just full disclosure, I haven't seen any of his movies like from before Prisoners. Like I've seen everything from Prisoners onwards. So just so people don't get upset that I'm not mentioning his earlier
like
his
how
earlier
dare
movies.
you?
But I mean, just like of the movies I've seen, Prisoners, Enemy, Sicario, Arrival, Blade Runner, and Dune. I loved all six of those movies.
Mhm.
Like he, you know what? Like even though like even though some of his movies, mostly like Prisoners and like Sicario and like Arrival, like those don't even though those aren't like event movies, for me they are. Like whenever Denis Villeneuve comes out
Mhm.
with a new movie, you bet I'm gonna be there to see. I'm gonna be there to see it. Like just like the way he was able to do thrillers like Sicario and Prisoners, and then with with Arrival and Blade Runner 2049. Um, did I say Blade Runner 20? When I first mentioned it, did I say Blade Runner? Did I say Blade Runner 2022, or did I say 2049 the first time around? I feel
It's
stupid.
fine.
Okay, but yeah, just like with Arrival and Blade Runner 2049, he really did. In my opinion, he made the two best sci-fi movies of that decade. Like they were just tremendous. Like they were gorgeous looking, amazing performances, just like really like complex stories. They're like just terrific all around. And then I remember when my brother and a couple friends and we went opening weekend to see Prisoners, and it was we were in a packed theater, and just you could like just like how I was explaining with Foxcatcher, like you could tell people were like really sucked into it, like the 2.5 hours, like people were just on edge, and just those last couple minutes with Jake Gyllenhaal like looking around the yard, and him again, spoiler alert if you haven't seen Prisoners. Okay. So those last couple minutes with Jake Gyllenhaal, like hearing or thinking he hears Hugh Jackman whistling from under in that hole that's covered up, and just wondering, is he going to realize that's him? And just like the screen just cutting to black, and like people were like, what? Not in like, not that they were upset, but they were like, they were just like, tensed up. They were like, oh my god, like did he find out it was Hugh Jackman, like who was like trapped under there, like what happened? And then of course with his latest movie Dune, he made part one of a seemingly unfilmable novel, and he just knocked it out of the park, and I really can't wait. And that movie rightfully swept the technical awards at the Oscars.
But the direction wasn't that great, right?
How was he not nominated for best director? But
don't get it.
But in any event, and just the stellar work he did with Dune. I can't wait for October 2023 for part 2.
There we go. And so what's very interesting about you saying that, Vinny, when I have you on in the future for Lost in the Wasteland, it's no longer going to be me just asking you random movie questions. I'm going to be interviewing you about films from your curriculum. So I will be very excited to be talking about some Denis Villeneuve films with you in the future. And hey, could give us some excuses to watch some of his earlier ones, because I haven't seen any of his pre-Sicario.
Or
when Prisoners came out in 2013, right?
Prisoners, I think Prisoners was his English language debut.
Yes, so I haven't seen any of his movies that are not in English. So,
it
was an excuse.
Well, of his movies before Prisoners, like the one. I mean, I don't know much about it, but the one I've heard mentioned the most is actually, I think he did this one right. Like, I think this is the one he did before Prisoners, was Incendies.
Yep. So we have some fun to look forward to in the future. Also, Prisoners is low key one of my favorite movies. Like,
it was.
Oh my god.
It was my second favorite of 2013.
Deacons 2, just a shot on a tree, and it says so much was showing so little.
I wonder why Deakins didn't. I wonder why he wasn't the cinematographer for Dune. Maybe. He might have been working on 1917 at the time. Because Dune was going to come out like the year after 1917, but then it got pushed back. But yeah, like I guess like the schedule didn't work out for him.
Yeah, he sure definitely got rewarded for 1917.
Yeah,
so I think he's happy. Yes. But how I like to wrap up this show is letting my guests ask me a question. So, Vinny, what would you like to ask the Wasteland Reviewer?
Oh, you know what? I forgot the wild card. I forgot the wild card question was supposed to come from me. I thought it was supposed to be a question like a
keep you on your toes.
I thought it came from you. I'm sorry.
It's all good. Hey, I don't tell anybody to prepare them beforehand. This is just like, what can you think of on the spot?
All right. Let me think. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if there's going to be some dead air for a few seconds while I think of a question.
That's okay. I could just do. Maybe in post I'll actually go back and put the actual music instead of my lovely rendition. So there you
Uh,
go.
I'm, I'm trying. Ah, shoot. I'm trying to think. All right. Oh, okay. You know what? Here's one. So, you know what? This might be a bad question because you've seen like almost every movie under the sun, but um, have you watched? Or actually, no. I'm trying to rephrase it in my mind. What what was what was the last movie you watched that you hadn't seen before, and it was at least 10 years old?
The last movie that I watched that I hadn't
Or
seen before that was at least 10 years old.
yes.
I guess technically it was Ginger Snaps that I watched for the first time last weekend. And that's from 2000. So it's weird to think, like, yeah, that's 22 years old. I don't like it. Uh, but I did like Ginger Snaps. It was so, like, I've never seen this show, but I heard good things about Orphan Black. And this is from the creator of Orphan Black. And Ginger Snaps is dark, a dark fantasy horror comedy
I didn't know it
about,
was I didn't know it was a show.
well, no, so like Orphan Black's a show, Ginger Snaps is a film. And it's about two sisters who one of them becomes a werewolf. And they're like dealing with the ramifications in this small, like idyllic Canadian suburb. And
Okay.
it's darkly funny, but like the final act of the movie is really unnerving and pretty terrifying. And it feels like a fresh and engaging and fun coming of age slash werewolf kind of movie, and not
Okay.
like Teen Wolf fun kind of werewolf movie. Like, this gets dark and violent and scary, so
Yeah,
it has
yeah,
a little bit
yeah,
of both.
yeah, you know what? I'm sorry. Like the way you worded it before, it made it sound like Ginger Snaps was a movie, but then a TV show, or maybe it was a TV show first and then a movie. I wasn't.
No,
I got.
so
But
I
you were talking about Orphan Black being a TV show.
yeah, which I know, like, the director of Ginger Snaps, John Fawcett, is pretty well known for the show Orphan Black.
Okay.
From 2013 to 2017, that had Tatiana
Mansley.
Maslany in it, who now is going to be She-Hulk.
Mm.
Interesting. But like, I would definitely recommend Ginger Snaps. It was a pretty fun time. I just watched that, and then I watched Dead Presidents too, but I liked Ginger Snaps more. Uh,
This week with movies that are more than 10 years old, or at least 10 years old, that I've seen for the first time, like, just to get like hyped up for uh David Cronenberg's return to body horror. I watched like they were saying this was his most previous body horror movie. I watched Existence
okay,
with Jude Law and Jennifer Jason Leigh.
I haven't
I,
seen that one.
oh, you haven't? It's good. It's good. Like, I wouldn't say I wouldn't say it's as good as like his other body horror, like, The Fly and Videodrome and Scanners, but it's definitely worth a watch. Like, it does have like a lot of interest, like some interesting ideas, and then I know I'll probably get tomatoes thrown at me for saying this, but last night, for the first time, I watched Top Gun to prepare for the sequel. I had never seen Top Gun. I had never
Trust
seen Top
me,
Gun
I
before.
like I don't hold Top Gun into like some kind of high esteem that like this is like
Oh,
must-see cinema.
oh,
So you won't get
no,
the tomatoes from
oh,
me.
oh, no. I mean, I know, watching it. I mean, obviously, it's not a masterpiece, but you know, like it's an entertaining movie, and you know, it is a movie that people that millions and millions of people have seen and have referenced. So like, you know, it's definitely like, you know, it definitely has ingrained itself in pop culture. So like, I'm just, you know, I'm happy that
Like,
I
I'll
finally
be
did
your
watch
wingman anytime.
it.
Just
But you know
like,
what?
okay.
But you know, it seems like, but like, I mean, like people are saying the sequel is incredible,
Legit.
and like they're saying, you know, a lot of them are. I mean, I guess like not that this would be like a really high bar to get over, but but they're saying it's even better than the original than the original.
Oh, I get it. Like, the feelings I'm getting from even just trailers tell me that. Like, this seems like and like I've seen some people even say like this could be like an outside like best picture
Yes,
contender. And
that's
I'm
that's
like,
that's
what? I'm just like, are you shitting me? And but you know, I feel like if Tom Cruise is doing an action movie now, there's high standards. And
what
like,
see, the thing is like he really is like one of like he really is like one of the last like legit movie stars who more often cannot who more often cannot like open a movie like with his name alone.
yeah. Well, and this has some great young talent along with it too, because
Yeah,
like you have
Miles
Miles
Teller.
Teller. I really like Glenn Powell. Um,
Yeah.
he was like nothing in Expendables 3, but to be fair, all of them were. All the young people were. But ever since I saw Everybody Wants Some, I'm just like, dang, I really
Mhm.
like him, even in like Hidden Figures.
Yeah, he was good in that too.
And so like I'm excited to see him as a bagman, hangman. Did you see they released character posters for it?
I did.
Bob's the best. Bob gets the best one, best name. And
Yeah, yeah,
what John
yeah.
Hamm was like Cyclone or something.
J-
Just
J-
like
J- yeah, and then you also have Jennifer Connelly is going to be in it. Like she's a great actress.
mhm.
So yeah, I mean, and you know, like Joseph Kaczynski. I mean, yeah, Tron Legacy as a whole wasn't great, but I mean, the visuals and action in that
Mhm.
were definitely like the high points of that movie. So he kept well, and even the visuals in Oblivion,
Oh my
like
god, Oblivion is so like say this first. It's one of the most derivative science fiction movies that I've ever watched because you can tell in every moment what other science fiction movie is trying to like homage. But
mhm,
like, my God, the special effects, the sound design, and just the overall technical aspects of that film are impeccable.
yeah,
Like those drones crazy. And that's the thing, is like like you watch the trailers, those fighter jet sequences look amazing.
mhm.
And you know they're all really flying them because Tom Cruise is like, you're all gonna learn how to be real pilots. And it's just like, oh my God. So but yeah, I definitely so circling back to your question, Ginger Snaps, Dead Presidents. I'm trying to chop some more movies off of my watch list. So like some of the next ones I have coming up are Carmen Jones, School Dazed, A School Days, some other things on here that I haven't seen. Some like classics like Harold and Maude, uh, Chungking Express. I've one of the movies that has been on my list for so long that I've always wanted to see was The Man Who Would Be King, with Sean Connery and Michael Caine. It's a Rudyard Kipling novel
Okay.
adaptation, and I'm like,
I've never seen it.
so those are a couple of the ones that are on my list that are well, some of them are obviously more than 10 years old. It's like
Right, right,
Sean
yeah,
Connery and Michael Caine in it,
yeah.
from the '70s. So looking forward to some of those things. But that was a good question.
Thank you.
And luckily I had a couple within the past couple weeks. So that worked out. But Vinny, thank you as always for coming on to talk movies with me.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And thank all of you out there for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.